what's your assessment of the way the team has played this season, and what, if anything, has to change?
Well, I mean, we're 9 games under 500, and that's certainly not what we expected and what we hoped for. You know, I do think the team's starting to play better, starting to hit. I'm starting to see green shoots. We got a long way to go, and a lot can happen over a relatively short period of time. And so, you know, we're going to keep plugging, and I think our schedule gets a little easier, and so there are opportunities to gain ground. And so, you know, we'll see what happens.
If this doesn't change, could you see yourselves taking the same tactic last year headed to the trade deadline?
Yeah, you know what it is? I'm focused on winning games right now. You know, we can worry about the trade deadline. That's 7 weeks away. How many games is that? That's 45, maybe 50 games. And a lot can happen, so I'm focused right now on the season, winning games, and we'll worry about that when the time comes.
You had spoken last year about, you know, despite maybe taking a half step back, wanting to be competitive this year. Why do you think it hasn't sort of unfolded the way that you had envisioned it over the offseason?
You know, it's a variability of human performance, right? You can write it down on paper, but then you got to play the games. You know, frankly, we haven't really put it all together for a consistent period of time. And so, you know, I still think that can happen. You know, listen, there's a lot of good ball players on this club, and it's just a question of, you know, getting a little confidence, getting on a run. And I think that's possible. And so it's, you know, how many games are left in the season? 100? It's a lot. Okay, so, you know, I mean, obviously, you know, we'll see what, you know, it looks like 4 to 6 weeks from now. And but, you know, I still feel this team has got a good run in them, a lot of good players, and a lot of good. I think the locker room's good, the culture's good, and so I'm hopeful.
You kind of just hinted on my follow-up, but you said you're focused on the here and now. At what point you sort of have to make a decision as to what your strategy will be at the trade deadline in the second half?
Listen, I know everybody's focused on the trade deadline, right? It's that's all anybody wants to talk about. We got a lot of games to play, and so, you know, let's not get focused so far out. Let's get focused on what's happening now. We got to win a game. We got to chip away. We're down, you know, obviously 9 games and to get to 500, but maybe, I don't know, what are we, 4 games out of the wild card, which is, I mean, we shouldn't be proud of that, right? We're still 9 games under, but, you know, it gives you the opportunity to you know, make the season a success, and so. You know, that's the way I'm looking at it.
A couple of weeks ago, you called the team's performance mind-boggling.
Yes.
You've since then unboggled your mind at all and been able to understand what's going on?
Well, it was mind-boggling because of how we were losing in the last inning.
Yeah.
Okay? I mean, you can lose games and not describe it as mind-boggling. How we were losing it was, you know, unusual. And so, you know, everyone saw the statistic. I think you know, a week ago they said we'd lost like 6 games from May 1st in the last inning, and no other team had lost 2. And so, you know, listen, you could say, well, if we didn't lose those games, we'd be in a totally different place. But I think what it says is that, you know, that was unusual. It's probably not going to continue, and therefore you can have reason for optimism.
Over the next 4 to 6 weeks, as you said, as you mull the near-term future for the Mets, how much do you weigh pure standings, 4 games out of a wild card spot, as you said right now, versus the likelihood that these Mets can actually make a run if they even got to October? Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know, you certainly want to have high standards. You know, I mean, if you get into the playoffs and you are 4 games under 500. You know, it's nice to make the playoffs, and anything can happen. We know that, but still, you would say, "Wow, you know, that was not optimal, right? It's probably not the way you would envision it." And so, but I say it again: a lot of games left, and I actually think the team's starting to show signs, and so hopefully, you know, we'll continue to, you know, improve and start winning some ball games.
Right, but if technically, when you have to make a trade deadline decision, you're not too far out of the playoff picture,
Yeah.
do you also look at it and say, hey,
Yeah.
realistically,
Yeah.
maybe the team's just not very good?
You know something? I'm gonna take the recommendations from David and the baseball staff, and I'm not thinking about that now, and that we haven't spoken about it, so we're focused on winning games now. Yeah.
Is there any aspect of the team's game on the field that has maybe surprised you the most this season?
Well, you know, I mean, all the stats are out there. Our defense hasn't been, you know, particularly great. You know, we haven't really put it all together. You know, when we're hitting, we're not pitching. You know, those are the things. I mean, to win games, you got to play all facets of the game, and there's room for improvement there. And you know, I'm hopeful that you know, the team starts playing better defense, and you know, our hitting has improved. Our pitching's been reasonable enough. We went through a bad patch in relief pitching, and so we just haven't put it all together. But I'm hopeful that we will.
You've been pretty interactive with the fans this weekend. What is your message to them right now?
Listen, fans they love the Mets, and they came all the way over here. What the hell I got going on here? I got turn that off. They came over here because they love the Mets. They care about the Mets. They're in good spirits, right? I was hanging out with them in the pub. We were having a blast, and you know, they're excited about being here, being at the games. And so, you know, the fans have been through worse, okay? And so, right, that's trying to break that history. You know, they're great, and they're certainly going to be there for the team.
How do you assess the job that Carlos Mendoza has done so far in his rookie year as a manager?
I tell you, I'm impressed by Carlos. You know, he's got an incredible rapport with the team. He's thoughtful. He handles, you know, he's very capable of relating to the players, delivering hard messages when he has to. You know, I'm impressed by how he conducts himself.
Steve, while things could change, you're in the midst of a second straight year of underperforming, I think, your expectations. Institutionally, do you think something is wrong that is leading to this?
You know, I think things are actually improving, Joel. You know, I mean, we've got new management. We're in the evaluation phase of, you know, I know what's going on in various parts of this system, you know, the infrastructure, you know, and so I think I actually am pretty optimistic, you know. Now, these things take time. Unfortunately, you just can't turn the system around, you know, on a dime. But I think we've got a lot of the right people. We'll improve the people in the organization. You know, I mean, we're going to have the best and brightest across, you know, whether in the minors or the majors, but that takes time. And you know, I have a great deal of respect for David, and you know, he comes from a winning club. He's demonstrated success in the past, well respected in baseball. You know, just this first season, even the decision making that's going on in the Mets is a lot sharper, you know, than it's been in the past. Much more concise. Perfect example is, you know, we bring in Louis Torrens, right? And you know, for $100,000 immediately helps us win a game, okay? And when you're fighting for a playoff spot, winning one game or winning two games really matters. So I like what I see, okay? But unfortunately, it's going to take time.
Appreciating that it's going to take time, from 20,000 feet, would it be better for where you want to go to be a seller one more time this July?
Yeah. Listen, like I said, you know, I know everyone wants to talk. I tell you, it's amazing. It looks like every year, whether, you know, forgetting the Mets, that all anybody wants to talk about in the season, it's not the season, it's the trade deadline. And it's going to come, guys. I'm telling you, it's going to come. And so, whether we like, it'll be here shortly. But meanwhile, I'm going to focus on winning games. And I haven't had any recommendations from our baseball department yet. And so right now we're focused on the here and now and not focused on 2 months from now.
I get it.
Okay.
But I'm asking a tactical question.
Yes.
You know where you want to be within the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Would you be better off one more time sucking it up, taking what's valuable and building for that next 5 years? Because we're asking questions if you could get into the playoffs at the margins this year as opposed to where you want to be.
Listen, those are tough decisions, right? I mean, obviously you want to build a winning culture, right? And a lot of that is trying to make the playoffs. I'll say it again. I mean, I haven't had discussions with David on this. And listen, the ultimate goal is to build a sustainable winner. I've said that. We haven't done it yet. Okay, we had 1 winning season, and obviously that's not good enough. And so, but the other side is, it's not, you get into the trade deadline and, theoretically, you don't know what you're going to get back, right? You don't know, just because, in your scenario, what if the return that you got is kind of marginal, right? So the decisions are not black and white, okay? And so, we're not there yet, and we'll evaluate it when we get there.
Hey Steve, just to switch the focus from London back to New York, what's next for your plans at Citi Field? Is it casino or bust, or would you be open to Ballpark Village in Atlanta or the mighty St. Louis? Well,
fortunately, we're sitting on, like sort of, not marshlands, but a low area. We have to make it all work, we need an economic engine if we're going to do something significant. And plus you got to replace the parking. Okay, if you're going to build something on it, well, where are you going to park? And so parking garages to build are incredibly expensive in New York. And so, there needs to be an economic engine. We want to build a hotel, gaming, area that the fans can enjoy. That's the goal. We're going to keep pushing forward. And my hope is that, we're successful.
Hi, just to bring it back to being here in London, obviously we've heard that the field outside is a lot more bouncier than used to be in America.
You say bouncier?
That's what we've been told, yeah. There's a lot more bounce to...
Well, the fly ball that, fell in front of Starling yesterday, that bounced pretty high. Okay, so, that was different.
Yeah, so how do you think, the series can develop here? And obviously being in London's great, but we've heard things about jet lag and different issues. Do you think that affects your team in different ways? And obviously they're quite versatile.
Well, it didn't affect Philadelphia yesterday, so someone's going to win, someone's going to lose. Listen, these guys are used to traveling, and frankly, I think it's actually a nice break. It kind of breaks up, it's a long season, and it gives them an opportunity to be with their families in a sort of a unique way. So I'm a big supporter of these games.
And obviously you said you were at the pub yesterday with Mets fans and really seeing everyone around. How are you enjoying being here in London as well, and the London series and what it brings to the MLB in general?
Yeah. Obviously going to the pub was a blast to hang out with the fans. I have an office here. My firm has a very large office here. And so I came in there actually earlier last Sunday, did investor meetings and hung out with my investment professionals. And so I've been here for a week and I love London. I think the food here is fantastic. Okay, I think it's better than New York.
What's your best cuisine? What's the best thing what's your favourite thing to eat? Is it the full English breakfast or? I tell you,
I was on the 10th hole or 11th hole at Sunningdale, and they had these sausages at the Midway House. That was awesome. Okay, little Coleman's mustard, little white bread on, wrap it around, delicious.
Definitely a great breakfast.
We'll finish up with Mike in the front.
Steve, you mentioned the fans have been through worse, but you look at your attendance at Citi Field, it's down 25% now.
Yeah.
Obviously, the weather's always a fact, but
Sure.
there's other teams in the Northeast, and they're not down that
Hey,
significant.
listen, it's about winning, right? I mean, you know, the weather was terrible. We had obviously every time we played in April and May until it broke around Memorial Day. I mean, you were there. I mean, it was in the 50s and either raining or windy, and the wind comes off the bay. It's not exactly comfortable. But you know, winning solves a lot. You know, and frankly, that's what we're going to have to do, right? I mean, New York City is a competitive marketplace. Lots to do in New York, and to get fans to come out the stadium, you got to give them a good product, something that they can get excited by. And you know, we've been spotty that way this year. So yeah, you know, that's the way it is.